Who sucks more?
Well, you know, every time we have, there's always two people that just get right in the middle of your mind for a week. Well, we like to talk about who sucks more. This week we have is it Fireside Joe?
It's Fireside Joe, but it's formerly Fire Guy Joe, for whoever wants to know that.
This week he's feeling a little apologetic for all of the background noise.
I'm a piece of shit, and then I come here and eat M&M's on mic.
Aside from all of his aliases, he's also a friend of the show, Joe. So, Joe, thanks for hanging out with us. And Chris is here, obviously, and I'm Andre. And we want to get into who sucks more. This week we're talking about Bobby
Kotick?
He's a big dick.
Yeah, so we're the scales are already leaning against him, CEO of EA. And Vishal Garg. He sounds like he sucks more.
Mr. Gargle and Mr. Dick.
The CEO of Better.com. So let's get into it and find out who sucks more. Joe?
Oh, I was waiting for some music or something.
No, I don't have.
We don't have any.
that
Chris
yet.
has been throwing them like hot fire cakes. So I just assumed.
But at the same time, it seems like fuck you, fucking Riverside.
So Bobby Kotick is an interesting situation right now because Activision Blizzard is merging into Microsoft. So he's technically still CEO, but he doesn't do anything. But at the same time, still manages to consistently piss off Americans. Like, his Twitter account is just garbage. Like, you thought Trump would throw some hot fire stuff out there. He does this almost on a daily basis. So Bobby Kotick, for those who are not too informed, and I'm sorry if you are, former kind of still CEO of EA Activision. He is notorious for promising high on a video game, over hiring workers to crunch the game within a year's time, penalizing those workers if they do not get everything done in that year's time, and then once the game releases, firing about 60% of them. And it's become such a wash and rinse repeat process that I don't even understand why people will try to work for the company. Maybe.
Well, that's his legacy. I don't follow a lot of game development because I'm not a heavy gamer, but I do pay them every year except for last year for Madden.
Sorry, let me reiterate.
In FIFA.
It's not just that he fires them, but he doesn't pay them any severance and denies any bonuses that he was supposed to give them for the performance of the game.
So correct me if I'm wrong. So the two other charges I will definitely plaster against this wonderful person is the treatment of women at his company and the sexual harassment charges. And secondly, gosh, I forgot the second thing.
The treatment of women in sexual harassment cases. That is not. Just double down on that. That's enough. Who needs another one?
Yeah, he's a douche. Like I don't follow game development because that's not what I'm not smart enough, or actually I'm not creative enough to write a game.
I'm about to say you're definitely smart enough.
Yeah, I'm just not creative enough to create a game, but I do listen to a lot of the grumblings of these guys. Like when I hang out in like developer forums, I'm like, yo, that sucks. And EA is the biggest culprit. Yeah. So, Chris, you got anything on this guy's second?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing for EA that always kind of sticks out to me was the NCAA football games, right? Like, they basically made a shit ton of money and a huge name for themselves, even like before Madden really blew up with the NCAA football games, where they were profiting off of the names and likeness of all of these players and not paying them a single dime. Like, I don't even think they were paying
But isn't
schools.
that the NCAA's fault?
It is to a certain degree, but this guy saw an opportunity and took full advantage of it and had no problem with it. So, and then they tried to roll out a version with no names and generic players, and it totally tanked because nobody wants to play that. Like, I bought so many copies of that so I could play as Phillip Rivers for the NC State Wolfpack. Like, And then once Phillip Rivers, because I'd play like career mode or whatever. So once he would win 3 straight national championships and go on to an illustrious Hall of Fame NFL career, then I would have to create some new player that was like 7 feet tall, 320 pounds, could run a 4.240, and literally it'd just be like hike, sprint left, like that's all it was. And he's just like stiff arming
guys. We're not talking
guys.
about blitz.
No, I'm not. But there was at least one version of NCAA football that allowed you to do that. But
insane.
Blitz was one of my favorite games. So Midway over EA all day.
Blitz was one of my favorite games, especially the league when you can start putting like dope into your players' broken appendages.
I don't remember
that. Was just.
I don't think I played that
God.
one.
You had the left trigger was your dirt. They called it
your crack needle.
They called it the dirty button because whenever you held it, your character would tackle like an illegal tackle, or face mask somebody.
Yeah.
And if you did it enough, you can break the other quarterback's leg.
Nice.
And then they were out of the game. Yeah, that's how I remembered it. Because only way I ever won was to break the other quarterback's leg online. And people will send me hate messages and death threats. I'm like, still won. You're playing Blitz. You could be playing something better.
Sure. Good point.
So let's move over to Mr. Gargs. I just think he's a total piece of shit.
Gargle.
He's just like there are no words for the amount of suck he brings to corporate America. And I don't remember how much VC money they got, but I will say this. I am not a fan of tech finance companies or fintechs. I'm just not at all. I think it's just human beings are not smarter than algorithms. It doesn't work in insurance. It doesn't work in mortgages. It doesn't work across the board. Like, you still need to have some human interaction and understand like situations and blah blah blah. So I think any fintech company, I just think they're typically a pump and dump, and I don't like them. He makes it that much worse by the way he treats people, and it's like, dude, you're gonna lay people off, and they find out because they got paid. They're like, yo, I just made $8,000. Like, that's your last check you're gonna see ever.
Yeah.
So, I just can't.
No, I think things could be going a lot better for Better.com and their CEO. Yeah, I did. I did that. I'm sorry. I meant to drop that in the quick hits, but I missed my note on that one there. Yeah, I mean, again, like we talked about this earlier, the guy obviously has no idea how to deal with bad news, right? He doesn't know how to deliver. He seems like he's perfectly fine riding high when everything's going good, but the second that he has like any real conflict, he's just like, well, we're not going to say anything, or we're going to do it in the least human way possible. And I'm not here for that when it comes to a CEO. Like, you took on that role. It's your responsibility, ultimately, to stand behind those decisions when your company makes them. And he clearly doesn't feel like he wants to do that.
Yeah, he's one of those instant CEOs, right? So that's, like, I personally have, like, I have a little bit of disdain for these, like, VC-funded guys that are founders that, get a little bit of cash. Like, WeWork would fall into that category. And I could probably rattle off a list where they're like Insta CEOs.
Is that like instant mashed potatoes?
I just don't respect them. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what they produce.
Don't give instant mashed potatoes a bad rap. Idaho mashed potatoes.
No, I will.
Garbage. And those people that mix regular mashed potatoes with instant, and they're like, it's fluffier, and like, no, go fuck yourself. I'm sorry. That's
That's
a crime against humanity
wrong.
right
So.
I'm going to put turkey bacon with regular bacon and bring it to your baby shower.
I don't eat either of those.
Oh, God.
I'm not even talking about cooking it. I'm not even talking about cooking it.
You're going to have a bowl of bacon.
Just raw bacon in a bowl. Here, this is what I brought for the baby shower. Don't babies eat raw bacon?
Oh, man. So I think it's a cry for help from companies. I do believe in the entrepreneur. I do believe and growing a company, but I don't believe in the VC economy that much. I haven't seen anything really good come out of it.
I just
You know,
At what point is it ever? Okay, maybe it's a weird example, but like Bane, right, from Batman. Does anything good come from him, like injecting himself all of a sudden with all that crap and becoming huge? Like, that's what you're basically doing with VC. Like, you inject a bunch of cash, they get really big, and then Batman kicks their ass.
yeah, that's actually pretty good.
Yes, you were spot on, and I can't argue with that.
We should ship that to CNBC and Bloomberg. So, who sucks more? Is it Bobby
Joe,
or is it Vishal?
what's your call here?
Well, let me add something real quick to Bobby. I feel like we, on a very similar note of laying people off. Bobby was also notorious for giving himself
Reach around?
additional stock options and bonuses, and along with a raise. So every year, this dude would give himself a couple $1 million.
Oh, so he's a congressman.
That sounds like He should run for one, as efficient as he is. But
yeah, you're not gonna get me with that one, dude. Here's my thing. So I build a company, right? I lead it to some, like, in his example, shareholder success, or whatever that benchmark or metric is, and he gets a raise. Okay, here's where I think the problem is. People have a tendency to go and work for shitty companies.
Hence McDonald's.
Like, that's... So, like, I would actually say... I would... Hence what?
He said what you thought he said.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Just trying to just stoke the flames.
I could come back to that one because I don't like the way that sounded. I really... I would really... I'm going to come back to that when we get to our next segment because I didn't like that.
No, but I think you have a really good point. Like,
that's...
I mean, yes, there is a lack of discernment, I think, amongst a lot of people when it comes to where they go to work. Right? It's a dollar figure that they're chasing. It's a certain title. It's a level of control or power within the organization, and I don't.
And it can happen to me mentality, and that's where they're wrong. And if you choose to go work for that company, I'm not very sympathetic to you.
I think, we had an experience at E-Area, right, where it was a certain way where we came in because it was founder, bootstrapped, all that stuff. And then everything kind of changed when they got their equity,
they got a cash infusion.
Influx. And... It wasn't like the CEO left. The president, kind of did what he could for a little while, but they brought in a new CEO. They kind of revamped the whole management team. There was a huge focus on, was it people operations? Some bullshit title like that. And ultimately, it all fell flat. Like, I don't know exactly how they're doing right now. I don't really keep up with that. There's only one person that we used to work with that I still know that works, or two, I guess, but only one that I still... Actually, I don't talk to really anybody that still works there at this point. So, but yeah, so I think it's one thing, like, if you go in, it's a certain way, things change, you leave, right? Like, some of us leave voluntarily, some of us not so much. But... ultimately, like, you are responsible for the place that you work at, right?
Yeah, so I and if you make more money and you are the leader of the company, or even if you founded the company, like me personally, hopefully my companies do well and I'm going to make more money. But I'll be damned if my employees are like, we want 30% of the company. I'm going to tell them to go fuck themselves. Like, that's just not the way it works. Like, it's just, like, I really can't, I'm not down with that.
I understand balance in all things and doing the job to the, to the scope of your profession. That all makes sense. But where Bobby Kotick is unique, unfortunately...
They went public. They went public way too early.
Yeah, where Bobby Kotick is unique, unfortunately, is that he somehow skates the line on both ends. He pisses off stockholders routinely with his comments, yet they also fall for his lies when he says that everything's going great. A game is shipped and it's broken. Their last 3 major releases have all been box office failures, and yet he still argues that they are not making enough money to produce video games.
He's still out here getting a pay raise. Is your point? Yeah.
Yes, and while firing people. So he's kind of like the everyone's villain.
That's a fair critique. But I will say, like, I'm not adverse to, like, the leader of a company or founder or owner of paying themselves more.
Oh,
because unfortunately,
as long as it's reasonable, and
sure.
not at the expense of
yeah.
other
When the
people.
company does well, you should reap
But
the rewards of that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I think to Joe's point, like this guy sounds like he has a history of saying, "Well, the company didn't do well, but I did the best I could, so I deserve more money." And
exactly.
So I'll give him a credit in his hat. I mean, a feather in his cap. Like, I didn't buy Madden last year, not because of the game was crappy and buggy. It's because the NFL was shit. So,
can't be both.
So who sucks more? Is it Bobby or Vishal?
All right, I'll go first.
I think they both have.
I mean, they
last
do.
Names.
Kotick and Vishal Gargs. Gargs Kotick. Sorry, I was trying to make a dick sucking joke there. Anyways, this is. Well,
I'm the adult. I'm the adult in the room. I will break your kneecaps.
This is tricky, honestly. I'm gonna say that Kotick Kotick sucks more because he's been doing it longer. Would be my theory on it. Like Gargs is a pretty terrible human being, it seems like, or at least a really awful CEO. But it's really just like these two things that he's done in the last year that have been just downright terrible. Like I don't know, maybe I'm missing more.
Last year,
I
and like
remember
within
exactly
6
how long it
months.
was, so I'm just giving him the benefit of a doubt.
So what he's saying, he's got time to fuck up.
Yeah,
more?
I mean, this isn't like the end all be all, right? Like if.
He's gonna burn the company to the ground. He's like,
they just laid off almost half of their employees, so I don't think he's very far away from doing that. And I guess in that regard, like Kotick has built or has been the head of a very successful gaming company to this point. Whether or not he's done it, legitimately or on the backs of sexual harassment and all that stuff is kind of out there. But yeah, so I'm going to keep my answer. Kotick sucks more.
Okay, Joe.
Oh, you know where I'm going to go with this, man.
Mm-hmm.
You got to say it out loud,
Bobby
man.
Kotick.
Bobby Kotick.
Cock sucks. He's just he's a horrible fucking guy. I just can't.
I'm gonna go with Gargs because I just can't with this guy. Man. It's like, dude, you're striking out just to strike out. You're getting like softballs thrown at you.
I don't blame you for that.
You're just whiffing them.
I think this was pretty close for me. It could have kind of gone either way, but the longevity of Kotick sucking is what ultimately had him sucking more.
That's fair.
20.
So that's who sucks more. We've decided that the EA CEO, God, don't say that.
Suck
is the worst. Is worse than Better.com. That couldn't have been played better. That's anyway. So thanks for hanging out with on Who Sucks More.
Thank you.